This video is sponsored by Newport Propane. If you'd like to learn more about Newport Propane, you can visit us at our website or at our Facebook page linked in the description below. Who the hell would want to race in this crap? Hey everybody, Alex Gomes here. Going to be talking about my final race that I did this year out at X1 Outdoors in the 2019 season. I've raced at X1 Outdoors numerous times. It's the track I've been to the most with my go-kart. Very rarely have I ever raced there while it was raining outside. I've done it a few times in their rental carts, believe it or not, which is very sketchy but also a lot of fun because they don't have rain tires for those things. So driving heavy rental carts with slicks has been my only real experience racing in the rain in go-karts. I'd also had one go in a Rotax on like a qualifying run. That's my only actual experience I have racing a go-kart with rain tires. But beyond that, I've never really been on a wet track with rain tires in a proper high-performance go-kart. But on this day, late in October, the forecast called for rain, and I made sure the week prior that I was already set to go. I already had rain tires all set. I went and got myself like a wet racing suit, karting suit. It's just this fluorescent yellow thing I wore around my regular racing suit. And I even made sure that I got a proper cover to go over the air filter of my motor so that hopefully no water would get inside the motor and turn the oil milky and crappy, and you don't want that. So I got to the track around 8 a.m. and the rain hadn't even started yet. I think it was forecast to start around 9. The kids, the little kids, they race before any of the adults. They go out first. They get their day done first pretty early. So when they went out around 9 o'clock. It still wasn't raining. And they were going out and doing their practice sessions and slicks. And then it just started getting wet, just started coming down a little bit. And by the time the kids were done with their thing, it was almost 10 o'clock, almost time for us to go out for our practice. And I went out to the track and I was thinking like, well, I hope it's wet enough because the cart was already set up for the rain. I'd done everything as far as shortening the rear and widening the front, having the rain tires on it. I was anticipating it. And I didn't want to have to go backwards on all my setup crap that I had just done the day before. So going out for practice was my first exposure to driving a World Formula Kart in the rain, and I gotta say, with like brand new wet tires, the grip is there. I mean, you can still lose it. It's still slippy, slidey, and you can definitely, if you use too much throttle, even in a World Formula, using too much throttle on corner exit, can throw it sideways. You know, you gotta be a little careful with your right foot in these types of conditions, and you also gotta keep in mind where to place the cart. Now, if any of you have followed racing, I know a lot of you do, but let's say you don't follow racing, you still might know that cars on a track going fast put rubber down where they drive. And usually, in dry conditions anyway, a car wants to follow that rubbered line to have high amounts of grip, because rubber on rubber is very sticky, so rubber on the track, rubber on the tire, is going to provide a lot of grip. This is not the case in rain and wet conditions, because that rubber turns into slippy, slidey conditions when it gets wet. You do have to run this really weird line where you're staying off the usual racing line, and it took a few laps for me to rewire my brain and get used to that, but I was out there for a good chunk of practice. I did just want a lot of track time to get used to it, and I think it paid off. Unfortunately, because of the conditions and the way it was expected and forecasted all week, there weren't a lot of entries. I mean, I understand, nobody wants to be outside in the wet all day. There were really 4 or 5 guys there in my class, and that was it. The competition that was out there racing me was worthy enough that I wasn't going to go out there and just be like, I can Sunday drive and be fine, man. No, I'm still gonna go out there. I'm still gonna try to perform. I'm still gonna try to get first place as if I'm racing the most difficult opponent. Went into the pre-final starting first, and I took the lead right away. And I gotta say, I took off. I mean, the conditions weren't terribly bad. It was damp, and there might have been a puddle here and there, but it wasn't unmanageable. There weren't any secret puddles here and there that would catch you off guard or spin you out, nothing like that. It was pretty tame. And after 12 laps of just trying to be consistent, trying to use the correct racing line, or non-racing line, I should say, to get around the wet track, I came home first. No problems at all. The motor stayed dry. I changed the oil, I think, in between practice and qualifying just to make sure no water was getting in there. And yep, the oil came out nice and red as if I just put it in there. So no water was getting in the motor, and that held true in the pre-final. And in the final, it was more of the same. Started first, and I took off and really didn't have any problems holding first place. But my goodness, there must have been an hour between the pre-final and the final, and it kept raining that whole time. And while the pre-final was pretty tame, with no surprises, no real huge wet spots or anything like that, the final, my God, there were lakes and rivers on the racetrack. I'm surprised we even raced. I'm grateful we did. I had a lot of fun, but my goodness, there was one part of the track where like 7/8 of it was a big puddle, and you couldn't go through it. If you did, you would just slow down as if you were plowing snow, and it would destroy your momentum. And I didn't know it was there until we got out there on the track. You can't see this section of the track from our grid area. I first found it on the warm-up lap. We're coming around, I'm trying to, feel out the track, and I can see, yes, it is more wet, and there's even spots that I could see from the track, from the grid area. I was like, oh, there's a puddle there, and guys have been spinning on that guy right there, and stuff like that. This massive lake that was on the backside of the track, I didn't know it was there until I rounded a corner. I crested over the little hill that is the corner, and then just went right through it and just whoosh. It was like going to Disney World, man. It just all over me, all up my legs, up my sleeves, and like I'd kept pretty dry most of the day. That rain suit was doing a great job. Nah, it was all ruined right then. Every bit of clothing I was wearing was absolutely soaked. And I remember going through that puddle, and then the track worker up at the next corner was like laughing his ass off. Because we all did it. I went through, the guy behind me went through, because none of us knew it was there. And then by the time we lined up and started racing, I knew I had to avoid that section of the track. And the conditions were so much worse that our lap times had gained another 2 seconds or so per lap. Because I mean, just bits of the track that you could use to cut and make a wide line, couldn't use them anymore. Because it was all water and lakes and rivers and stuff that you can run through it, but you're gonna ruin your momentum doing so. So just by having to avoid so much standing water on the track, our lap times were slow. But my lap times in comparison to my other competitors that were out there were pretty good. I was able to run away, and without any issue, I took the win. I'm glad, of course, but I'm also glad that I was able to do so well in the rain when it was really my first go at it in real competition. As much fun as I was having driving in the rain, and let me tell you, it was fun. It was like when you're a little kid having fun type of fun. I loved sliding around. I loved having to adjust the throttle to be able to take corners, but not too much because you might spin out and stuff like that. I loved all that. But beyond that, God, everything, trying to pack up, trying to dry, everything was wet. I brought a second set of clothes, thankfully, so I got undressed in my trailer and put dry clothes on, and everything that was wet, I just threw it on the ground in the trailer and left it there to dry for the next day or two because it was just all so soaked, and I didn't want to get the inside of my truck soaked. But I gotta tell you, I had a blast. It was so much fun, and honestly, in the past, I've always been like, when it comes to racing in the rain. Nah, I'm gonna look forward to it now because I had a great time, and I did well. I like performing well in such conditions, and hopefully I can continue to do that in the future. And it was a cool closer on the year. To do something like this where everybody's kind of cold and miserable, but still having fun racing, and then it's the end of the year. We get our last trophies of the year. Went out to dinner with a few of the guys afterwards. It was a good way to cap off the 2019 season, and it's been a great season. It was unfortunate that I wasn't able to run for a championship this year. That's just because of time, money, and stuff like that. But it's been a great year. So that's gonna do it for today's race recap. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you guys get to stay dry and not have to go outside in this rain because it really sucks. Alrighty, have a good one.